All right, joining us now, ladies and gentlemen, Ron Fournier, senior political columnist with the National Journal and author of a very important, loving, touching, inspirational book, Love That Boy, What Two Presidents, 8 Road Trips, and My Son Taught Me About a Parent's Expectations. Ron, welcome, sir.
Thank you so much for the kind words. How are you doing?
I'm doing fine. No, I mean everything about I say about the book, and it's so heartwarming. I want to get to that certainly, but of course we just had Katrina Pearson. So tell me, first of all, were you as shocked as I was after Cruz dropped out, and then of course today we have Kasich dropping out?
No, you could see this coming for a while. You know, Trump is certainly after the series of primaries up in the East Coast, the writing was on the wall, and the only way that the anti-Trump forces could possibly stop him was to beat him in Indiana. And not only did they not beat him, but my God, Cruz and Kasich got thumped. So once we had the election, it was clear, this was Trump was a presumptive nominee, and it was just a matter of the other two guys getting out of the race.
What about first of all the possibility of an endorsement from Cruz down the road? He wouldn't answer Chuck Todd on Sunday on Meet the Press, not for lack of trying. If you saw that, I'm sure you did. Right. And when you have this, also address this Stop Trump movement within the party, and even people who have pushing a third-party candidate. So I mean, is that going to dissolve, or is that going to heat up, do you think?
Well, a couple of things. One, endorsements mean very little anymore. We don't trust our politicians. That's why somebody like Trump and somebody like Sanders are doing so good. We don't have faith in our leaders, so why would an endorsement mean anything? With Cruz, it said something about him as a leader. On one hand, he says Trump is bad for the country. On the other hand, he wouldn't commit to not supporting him, which is why Chuck Todd asked him 9 times. And, if you're going to put country ahead of your party, then do so. Don't, he's basically speaking out of both sides of his scowl, as Frank Bruni wrote today in the New York Times. As for the entire movement, look, the Republican Party has a tough choice to make, and you're going to see everybody making different decisions. Do you unite behind a front runner who is terribly flawed, who is trailing Hillary Clinton dramatically, who, unless we have a big change of events in the political landscape, is going to get beat pretty badly? I'm not going to make predictions, but boy, it's hard to see how he gets around her with all the obstacles he's put in his own way. So do you get behind him, or do you not and make it even harder on your party? So it's a tough choice, and it's the kind of choices that partisans have to make when their parties are being blown up, and when you have this kind of disruption, this kind of realignment. And right now, it's the Republican Party that is on the death door. I think the same thing is going to happen to the Democratic Party, and we're going to see a lot of realignment coming, and a lot of tough decisions had to be made by our leaders, because the public we've had it with this kind of business so far.
You're going to have the Sanders people who are going to feel slighted, rightfully or wrongfully, and they might not be coming out for Hillary. Right. But let me ask you this. Don't you think, okay, sure, Donald Trump has put his foot in his mouth, purposely or not, a million times. Nonetheless, if he starts bringing up, and explaining who Hillary is, today she talked about how he degrades women. What if he brings forth women who say, look, this is how Hillary ruined my life? What if that woman
Yeah, look at...
Go ahead.
Right. Don't confuse anything I'm saying with defending Hillary Clinton.
No. But what do you think that would be a different scenario? Does Trump have a chance if he brings forward these people who have been victimized in their minds by Hillary?
Oh, sure, and that's what he's got to do. And she's going to bring up all the nasty things about Trump. And here's where we are in America right now. We have 2 candidates who are the least popular candidates in modern history, both of whom are distrusted by most Americans. So we have, basically a fight for over who is the least awful candidate. Welcome, America. Isn't this great? So yeah, we can have that debate, but the fact of the matter is neither one of these parties is doing their job. Neither one of these candidates really has earned the right to be president. So we have to look at, if these are the only 2 choices, the fact of the matter is the Electoral College favors Democrats. The Hillary Clinton is starting just about 30 votes away if all she does is get all the states that Obama did. That it is a increasingly minority-driven country. You can't become president with 20% approval of Hispanics and 10% of African Americans. Trump is really going to have to change things.
Right.
Now, Kenny, yeah, he might be able to demonize Hillary. There's a lot to demonize her over, but that's kind of baked in the cake. So I think it's got to be something else. It could be something as dramatic as, God forbid, another terrorist attack. It could be that he really brings out voters who haven't voted in generations.
Right.
That's possible. But just looking at the normal landscape, it really does tilt towards her, and that's something that's not a partisan statement, it's just a fact.
No, I understand. All right, the book, love that boy. Your son was diagnosed with Asperger's, and you then gave him the best therapy that any father could possibly give him. You took him with you. You took him to the White House Christmas
time
party.
with
You
him.
took him on road trips. You enlightened him. I mean, something that any father would love to do with any son, regardless of any handicap or not. Talk about how you two bonded.
Well, boy, you just hit on one of the biggest lessons that I learned and am still learning, and that I try to impart in the book, which is the power of presence, just being there. And you've touched on something else. I know how lucky I am that I was able to take time with my son, that I'm not working 3 or 4 jobs to make ends meet, that my wife isn't working 3 or 4 jobs to make ends meet, that my son has a mother and father. A lot of families don't have the benefits we do, and I really ache for them, and I'm hoping this book can help them as well. But you're right. What happened was I took him out on the road for a year. We went to all kinds of presidential sites. His fixation is history, and the presidency is what kept me away from my family. And I learned a lot from him. I didn't teach him much. When you read this book, you'll see this little guy, he was 13 years old at the time, who
Right.
was socially awkward and a little bit of a misfit socially. Man, he showed his dad what you really have to do to be a father.
That is, it's an amazing story. It is a wonderful story, and every father could learn from what you did. It's just everybody's got to read it. Father's Day, I know Mother's Day is Sunday. It's great for mothers, but Father's Day is next month. Pick it up, folks. Read it, learn, and smile, because we need to smile and have our heart warmed in these days, the political days that Ron so eloquently explained in the previous questions. Ron, great to talk to you. I hope you'll come back, sir.
Thank you, man. Anytime.
Thank you. All right, folks. Up next, Steve Lonigan. He's the head of New Jersey for Cruise. Who? Yeah, remember him? We'll talk about it. Don't go away.